was working in concert with you, Noor Hadidi.
Pretty close. That's pretty close. I don't know.
We have a tie. It is inconclusive. Big hand for John Kelly and Noor Hadidi, everybody. Well, that's all for this week. I'm Steve Patterson saying in Taylor Swiftian fashion, it's me. Hi. I'm the host here. I'm Steve. I'll argue with you again soon, Canada. Good night.
The Debaters is created by Richard Side. This week's episode was produced by Nicole Callender, Chloe Edbrook, Dean Jenkinson, and Graham Clark. With continuity by Graham Clark, Diana Francis, and Gary Jones. Technical production by James Perella and Todd Reimer. Story editing by Gary Jones. With special thanks to Katie Ellen Humphreys, David Pride, and Emily Ferrier. Executive producer of CBC Radio Comedy is Lee Pitts. And thanks to everyone at the Danforth Music Hall in Toronto.
This is CBC Radio 1, 990 AM, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg. Romeo Dallaire led the UN peacekeeping mission for Rwanda during the 1994 genocide. 30 years on, the retired Canadian Lieutenant General says today's conflicts show the world still hasn't learned the lessons from that time.
The frictions that people live continue to nurture the abuse of power.
The legacy of the Rwandan genocide on the Sunday Magazine with Pia Chattopadhyay. Sunday morning at 9:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen.
You know the feeling of finding a really good podcast? Or the feeling of someone always being there, like your favorite radio show. Stream CBC Podcasts, CBC Music, and CBC Radio anytime, anywhere. Download the CBC Listen
app. This is CBC News. At 12 o'clock, we're at -2 with isolated flurries over downtown Winnipeg. Good afternoon. I'm Matt Humphrey. A Winnipeg mother who lost her son to fentanyl poisoning supports a report calling for a safe supply of drugs. An independent report yesterday on the Mobile Overdose Prevention Site, or MOPS, said it exceeded expectations and prevented drug deaths. Arlene Last Kolb's 24-year-old son died 10 years ago from fentanyl poisoning. Last Kolb chairs Moms Stop the Harm. She says there needs to be more than just having safe places to consume drugs.
That we replace the street drugs, that we replace the toxic street drugs with a regulated supply of drugs, that we do a different way, that we don't just keep trying to keep people alive, that we prevent these deaths.
Last Kolb says even though no one died at the MOPS site, 445 people did die from toxic drugs last year. A 33-year-old woman was rushed to hospital in critical condition after she was hit by a semi-trailer truck. It happened just after 7 last night on Henderson Highway near Layton. Police now say the woman walked in front of the truck. She suffered serious injuries. The driver stayed on scene. Recently, the woman has been upgraded from critical to serious. There's still no confirmation that Israel is responsible for multiple explosions reported overnight near a military base in Iran.
Significant escalation is not in anyone's interest. What we want to see is calm heads prevail across the region.
That is British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak echoing the concerns of many throughout the global community. The Iranian military is reporting 3 drones were shot down near a military facility and a nuclear site in central Iran. This follows Iran's missile assault on Israel last weekend. And if Israel does ultimately claim responsibility, they're being urged not to go any further. Here's Margaret Evans.
They're under pressure from the Americans and also from countries like Jordan and Saudi Arabia. Those are countries that helped defend Israel against the Iranian attack, those missiles and drones sent towards Israel. But of course, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is under pressure from hawks within his own government and with hardliners to do more. Itamar Ben-Gvir, a hardliner in his government, the security minister, actually tweeted feeble. So a lot of pressure, but it does seem that Israel is thus far trying to keep it to a minimum response. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
Elsewhere, NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg says allies have agreed to send more air defenses to Ukraine. That happened during a meeting in Italy.
NATO allies will step up, and several allies also made that clear in the meeting today with delivery of more air defenses, and I expect concrete announcements in the near future.
Stoltenberg says Kyiv will also receive spare parts and ammunition to keep its batteries running, more munitions. Ukraine has all but run out of air defense missiles as Russia continues to pound its cities with rockets and drones. President Volodymyr Zelensky told the NATO ministers Ukraine cannot afford to wait for help any longer. Meanwhile, a Polish citizen has been charged in connection to an alleged plot to assassinate Zelensky. Polish prosecutors say the suspect was trying to obtain intelligence about an airport in Poland frequently used by the president, and they allege the man was working for the Russian military. He's facing multiple charges under Poland's national security laws. A funeral gets underway this hour for the Canadian man killed by an Israeli strike in Gaza. Jacob Flickinger died together with several other workers of the World Central Kitchen Aid Organization. Their convoy was targeted soon after it delivered food to a warehouse in central Gaza. The funeral is being held in St. George's, Quebec, at the same church where he was baptized. Faced with persistent drought, Alberta is putting in place water sharing agreements. The agreements announced today are the largest in Alberta's history. They'll see municipalities, industry, and irrigation districts voluntarily reduce water when needed. The CBC's Joel Dryden has more.
There are 4 agreements zeroing in on major water users in the Red Deer River, Bow River, and Old Man River sub-basins. They're part of the South Saskatchewan River Basin, which feeds Calgary, Lethbridge, Red Deer, and Medicine Hat. Alberta Environment Minister Rebecca Schultz says the agreements will be triggered depending on reservoir levels, river flow, and snowpack.
This puts us in a position where we are ready to respond if we are, in fact, in a significant drought later this year.
As part of the agreements, participating municipalities will reduce water use by between 5 and 10%. That includes the city of Calgary. Industrial operations and irrigation districts have also agreed to reduce their water use. Joel Dryden, CBC News, Calgary.
And finally, in Winnipeg, new signs are going up on Donald between Portage and Graham. The area by Canada Life Centre is being renamed Whiteout Way for the Jets' run in the NHL playoffs. The first playoff game and the first Whiteout Street Party are both set for Sunday. Periods of snow and windy in Winnipeg today, a high around 0. Brandon, windy, snowy, a high of +2. Dauphin, snow off and on and windy, a high of +1. Flin Flon, skies clearing, a high of +3. Thompson, sunny and windy, a high of +1. And in Churchill, you're seeing windy conditions, a high of -6 and sunny.
Hello, Manitoba. Thanks for joining me for CBC Radio 1's Radio Noon. I'm Janet Stewart. We're talking spring cleaning on today's call-in. 2 cleaning experts join us with advice for the tough jobs you're facing. Find out how to clean faster and easier. Leave questions or tips right now. 204-788-3797. If you're overwhelmed by the idea of cleaning, we want to hear from you too. A therapist joins us as well so we can learn how to send shame packing. You can feel better about your home and yourself. Call in for more. We begin today with how the death of a Winnipeg firefighter has impacted first responders around the province. Conversations about mental health and how to better support the professionals and volunteers who help keep the rest of us safe. As you've been hearing on the news, friends, family, and fellow firefighters have gathered in Winnipeg today for the funeral of Preston Hindbigner. Colleagues say repeatedly responding to horrific scenes, often related to Winnipeg's drug addiction crisis, left the veteran firefighter with post-traumatic stress disorder. Cameron Aubry is president of the Manitoba Association of Fire Chiefs. He's also the fire chief in Dauphin, and he teaches mental health courses to first responders. He joins us by Zoom now from Dauphin. Thank you for being with us, sir.
Thanks, Janet.
You say first responders are a kind of family. How has this death hit you?
It does hit close to home. Anytime we lose somebody out of our network, whether it's police, fire, EMS, correctional officers, any first responder, we see the impacts that happen from a result of going to the calls that we respond to. And when we lose one of our own, it hits everybody pretty hard.
What kinds of conversations has this tragedy sparked among your colleagues, the fire chiefs of Manitoba?
The biggest thing that's coming out right now is there's a lot of question about what can we do to help our firefighters. And that is a big question, because when we look at the composition of the Manitoba Fire Service, the majority are a paid call or a volunteer network where people have other jobs or they're self-employed, so they don't have access to programs that some of the career fire departments would have through an employee assistance plan where there is somebody to talk to. And of course, the smaller communities that you get into, then the resources through shared health are also limited and the wait times are quite long.
Is this something you'd like to change?
We have been trying to progress something through the Manitoba Association of Fire Chiefs for quite some time now. But, it was back in 2016 when Manitoba passed the presumptive legislation for workers' compensation benefits, recognizing post-traumatic stress disorder as presumptive. So we saw that as a bit of a win. And the partnerships that we have with the Manitoba Emergency Services College and some of the courses that they teach is kind of a win. But there just has to be access to the programs, that they have to be much more readily available. We're looking at, if somebody approaches their family doctor and they get a referral, it could be months before they see a mental health professional. And in that time, unfortunately, we could lose those folks. So it is something we'd love to see. I don't know what the answer is, but we'd love to work with the government and see what options are out there.
When you were saying that the WCB recognized presumptive issues, it's presumed that the issue that has the person off work is connected to being a first responder, presumptive for issues like cancer and things that often hit our firefighters, correct?
Correct. So WCB has the presumptive legislation for firefighting cancers, but they also have the presumptive legislation for post-traumatic stress disorder. And the presumptive legislation for PTSD extends to all workers. It's not just limited to first responders.
And would that cover a volunteer worker?
It does. Even volunteer firefighters under provincial legislation are recognized as part-time employees of their municipality. So they are covered by WCB. Every municipality covers that for anybody that's on a fire department. The problem is, it's still the access to the wait times, to speak with somebody that's a mental health professional, distance that you may have to travel as well. So being in rural Manitoba, maybe Winnipeg that you have to travel to in order to see a counselor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, because the smaller communities just don't have the resources there.
There are other things that can stand in the way of a first responder getting help as well, like stigma that still exists. Colleagues of Preston Heinbigners have told CBC there's a sense among firefighters that they are, and I'm using air quotes here, supposed to be strong, as if admitting pain is somehow not being strong and a weakness. How dangerous is that mindset?
It's extremely dangerous. And that's the public perception, is that, we've been told that you chose this profession and you should know what to expect. However, nobody is bred from birth to see some of the things that first responders see, regardless of the agency of police, EMS, or fire. And, the public perception is based on a lot of what I would say is Hollywood. You see the bravado first responders rushing in, and they brush it all off afterwards, that there's nothing to it because the romance side of the movies takes over, the TV shows. That's not real life. Real life is that it's well known in the critical incident stress world. The common phrase is that, you're an ordinary person having an ordinary reaction to an extraordinary event. So everybody takes it differently. What may affect one responder may not affect another responder. And it could come from the time that they've put in or personalities. And yeah, it's unfortunate the way that the public perceives first responders and thinking that we have this tough skin that nothing can break through.
That's not true of any human.
Absolutely not. No.
You teach skills, hoping to prepare firefighters, future firefighters, for taking care of themselves. Tell us about the tools that are available.
So in the province of Manitoba, we have a very robust network. We're trying to improve. This is through the Office of the Fire Commissioner, the critical incident stress management teams that are available to fire departments. It's a network of volunteers that have taken the training in peer support and are able to go out and do defusings and debriefings with departments that have responded to tragic incidents. There's other coping mechanism courses that are out there. So the Mental Health Commission of Canada has the Working Mind First Responder, which we teach. And it's kind of a pre-education tool about when you find yourself stressing and responding to these traumatic calls. Here's some coping mechanisms that you can use. The Resilient Mind through the Canadian Mental Health Association is another very similar course. Wounded Warriors has programs on trauma resiliency programs and first responder assist training. There's another organization called the Wayfound Foundation that we offered a course in a partnership through the Manitoba Association of Fire Chiefs last year. It was online training called Before Operational Stress. There's volunteer groups, one based out of Brandon that's called Project Resilience 911. And there's resources out there. Unfortunately, not everybody wants to take up those resources because of, like we just discussed, the bravado and the public image that, the stigma that's still out there, which has changed drastically over the last number of years. I've been in the fire service for 25 years, and I can remember that conversations were never held 25 years ago, that it was always the suck it up attitude and press on. And now we're out there and we're instructing people that it is okay to talk, and it's great to talk, and you need to talk, and we have to move through this, and you're not alone.
You mentioned that efforts to get a program, the Manitoba Association of Fire Chiefs was working on something in 2016. It stalled. Can you see that a push now to get things going again?
I'm hoping so. The biggest stumbling block that we seem to have is the access to help. And, one of the things we looked at was a benefits plan for rural firefighters that would include an employee assistance plan. There are programs that are out there now. Now it's just a matter of getting education out to the smaller communities and the smaller departments saying, this is out there. You do have to budget for it because there is a cost to it. And the costs are going to have to come from the municipalities in order to protect their firefighters. So we'd like to work with the various municipalities, whether it's through the Association of Manitoba Municipalities or through the provincial government, in order to educate everybody about access to resources.
Cameron Aubry, thank you so much for your time today. I'm so sorry for how everyone's going through this now. Let's hope something, somewhere, someone's helped by this tragedy.
Thanks, Janet. And yeah, on behalf of our association, our sincerest condolences to Preston's family, friends, and all our brothers and sisters with the Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service.
Cameron Aubry is the president of the Manitoba Association of Fire Chiefs. If you or someone you know is struggling, there is a call you can make. You can even text 988. That's a national service. Calls and texts are directed to counseling and support partners and communities across the country. The 988 service is available in English and French.
You're local news at your fingertips.
CBC News has a local news app made for your phone or tablet.
So don't waste time scrolling for the local stories you want. Just download the app to get the information that matters to you when it happens.
And how you want it.
Another way to get your local news. The CBC News app. Download it today.
It is 12:18 here on Radio Noon. Still ahead, ever get hung up over hanging things up? Too embarrassed by messiness to invite people over? We've got you. A therapist has just walked in the room to join us with tips to send that negative self-talk packing. She'll also join 2 cleaning experts for our call-in. What cleaning trouble do you or people you love need help with? Leave a message now at 204-788-3797. In Thompson today, people need help with shoveling. Schools have been canceled for the last couple of days because they've received more snow in Thompson in the past 2 days than they got all winter. Now that north wind is drifting it around. Same in Flin Flon today, drifting snow. Brandon's been seeing light snow, so has Dauphin, Barons River, Norway House. The Portage Airport reported light snow showers. And in Winnipeg, we've seen a little bit of snow falling. It was falling this morning, and we're going to see more periods of late snow before it clears away this system to leave us with a mainly sunny weekend. Cooler temperatures than we had last weekend, but hey, what do you want? At least we're not shoveling like poor Thompson. Our hearts are with you. Remember to use your knees. Oh, they hate me in Thompson now for saying that. Riley Lachuk is our weather specialist, and he joins us after the 12:30 news with all the information you need to plan your weekend, when you'll be indoors and when you'll be outdoors. At least my use your knees Thompson joke got Janelle Chorney laughing. That makes me happy. Hi, everybody watching on YouTube, by the way. The notion of spring cleaning has been around for generations. Maybe because it's warm enough to open the doors and the windows, let in some fresh air and clean out some cobwebs. A time of renewal for nature, for our home, and for ourselves. Sounds great, but there's also the possibility that spring cleaning leaves you feeling overwhelmed. Janelle Chorney is a counselor and therapist who focuses on healing and wellness and all that stuff we need. Thank you for being with us in studio today, Janelle.
Thanks so much for the invitation.
Now, what crosses your mind when you think about spring cleaning?
Well, the first thing that I kind of thought of was, the first couple weeks of April were so nice. I was outside in the yard, set up my deck. I was not shoveling. I was raking grass. And, now that it's been snowy and wet and rainy and cold, I'm kind of back in the house thinking about the spring cleaning and just getting not excited.
Yeah, not excited. A lot of people get not excited, sometimes even worse. How often does cleaning come up as a subject with your therapy patients, your clients?
It really depends on what sort of the original reason that brought them into counseling or into therapy. I do have a couple clients who it is one of the major things that they're dealing with, either them or their partner or whoever they're living with in their home. But if we're looking at talking about stress and just talking about overwhelm or just other things that are going on in their life, that can be sort of a side topic or a side subject that pops up. I'm just not keeping up at home. I'm not keeping up with the clutter, the mess, the whatever it is.
There can be a lot of I'm not keeping up anyhow if you're depressed.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't feel like doing anything.
Yeah.
Right? It's absolutely paralyzing to move, she says, as a person who knows what that feeling is like. I live in a house that's cluttered. I'm a collector. My husband's a collector. It's really hard sometimes to throw things out or even to know where to start. Is that something you're seeing more of? Clutter being an issue?
Yeah, and really it's an issue if we feel it's an issue. Right? Sometimes, there's lots of people that have collections and love that and just love the busyness and just love having things around them that remind them of different memories, trips, adventures, whatever that is, or having, gifts from loved ones around. When it becomes an issue when we're sitting in our space and our brain is just so busy, with our eyes darting from place to place, and our brain can't relax and we can't relax. And it's like, I get no rest at work. I get no rest, in my personal life because I'm coming home and I'm just so, the room is just so busy.
Can it be the way you look at it?
Absolutely.
Two people, same room, different reactions.
Yeah.
Why does our society impact this? How does a society? You were mentioning yesterday when we were talking about that we're often, thinking that we're not enough, and we're seeking.
Yeah, the seeking and the reaching and the searching for something new or something more. And I have a great example. My best friend lives here, a little bit outside the city, but works away in northern Canada, basically. And she's been home for a little bit and phoned me up, hey, I'm in the city for a couple hours, can I pop in? My instant gut reaction was, no, you can't come into my house. It's too messy. I have 2 dogs and a cat and I've been working and blah, 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 right? I don't want anybody in my house because it's just too disorganized. And then I thought, no, it doesn't matter because her house is probably disorganized or cluttered, just like everybody else's, right? It's that, those images that we see on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, TV, in the newspaper or magazines of the perfect, clean, organized, shiny homes. And we think that this is what we must have, right? To be happy or just to be considered successful or considered, to be that adult. I can have everything together in its spot and I've got my stuff together, right? I've got my crap together and I can handle everything and I must handle everything because I have to be able to. And that type of mentality, though it's great to be strong and it's great to have that motivation, it can be really harmful because we can get really down on ourselves and really hard on ourselves.
And for example, you just robbed yourself there of a beautiful visit with your friend.
Well, I did have her over.
Good.
Because I was like, you know what? No, it doesn't matter.
But you could have.
I could have, absolutely. And then, or we would have gone out and spent money that neither of us have.
But people are often too embarrassed.
Absolutely.
Which makes everything worse because then you're robbing yourself of that social interaction that we all really need. Yeah. Really what we're talking about here is that negative voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that negative self-talk.
Yeah.
That we're supposed to be something we're not.
Mm-hmm.
Is that pervasive?
Unbelievably so. It is very strong in all of us, most of us. And I would say that a lot of us do really struggle with that narrative and with that talk that we keep telling ourselves or keep hearing over and over that I must, I should, I have to, I didn't, whatever it is. And that is something that I deal with or work with a lot of clients on is that narrative that we keep replaying. That tape that just it's on loop, it's on repeat.
How do you stop it? Any tips?
There's lots of tips. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, has been really good in looking at how our thoughts and our behaviors and our actions really kind of come into play and really looking at, the thoughts and the emotions or the physical feelings as well, how they interact and how they influence what we do, how we feel. It does begin with us being able to sort of recognize that inner dialogue. I have a great example. I had a kind of a cruddy week about 2 weeks ago. Things were just not going well. My stress cup was overfull and things were just bubbling out. And I was texting a friend and I'm like, man, I just feel so alone. And I caught myself and I was like, no, I am not alone. I have a friend that I'm talking to. I also come from a faith-based background and I'm like, I also have God with me and I'm not alone. I have people that love me. I love myself. And just catching myself was just enough to sort of not go down that rabbit hole. But it's the catching ourselves.
It's funny how sometimes the thoughts that come in your head are not accurate.
Absolutely.
When you're stressed out, your own brain will tell you something that's not true. I read a book once called it wasn't called this, but they referred to the frenemy within.
Okay, I like that.
There's stop talking to me in such a nasty way. I'd never talk to somebody else in the world like that.
We want to be encouraging and loving and, friendly, but it's so much easier to be judgmental with ourselves or critical of ourselves. But yeah, like you said, we would never say that stuff to a friend, even a stranger, right?
Oh, never.
Because we have to be polite.
Yeah, so be polite to yourself. How do you, what would that be? Like a self-acceptance or self-kindness?
Yeah, self-acceptance, self-kindness, just compassion.
Self-compassion.
Self-compassion. Hey, your friend calls you and they're like, I had a terrible day. This is going wrong. This is going wrong. And what would we tell them? Man, you're so strong. You're doing such a good job. Look what you've been able to accomplish. Look what you've been able to do just this past week. Why aren't we telling ourselves that? It's
because then the voice goes, but you're wrong,
Exactly.
but that's not true, but.
And then we have to say,
with the buts.
stop. And that's one of the things too, is actually thought stopping. It's, coming up with something or even just verbally saying, stop, that's enough to yourself, which might look a little silly or feel a little silly. I've done it.
I've done it too,
It's
and it works.
It does.
It works. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Stop. And then you just rephrase it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I always do that. No, you don't.
Exactly. What is the evidence of that? If you always did this, we would see something different.
Yeah,
right?
that's not, it's absolutely true. So to anyone who's embarrassed by the state of their home, what would you say to them right now?
Get over it. No, I mean, that's an easy thing to say. We all have things that we're shy about, embarrassed about, whatever it is. Give yourself grace. There's something in everybody's lives that we're not proud of, right? It depends on, as well, the stage of life we're in. Do you have kids that are super busy and taking all your time and energy? Do you have parents or an older generation that we're taking care of? And again, you're super busy and stressed out. Are you at work and you're always at work and you're busy and stressed out? When do you have time to clean? When do you have time to take care of yourself as well, which is big? So it's really, look at your priorities. In 5 years, is this messy kitchen going to really matter? No. In 5 years, is the clutter closet that we all have going to matter? Probably not. Unless there's a bunch of money at the back of that closet, which...
If there is, call us.
Exactly.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I used to use it when you're 80,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Will stick around?
Absolutely.
Janelle is going to stick around so we can continue this conversation. There's so much more to dig into in just 10 seconds' time. Give us a call. Our call-in begins. We'll have 2 cleaning experts joining us as well. 204-780-0893. Now it's time for the news.
This is CBC News. At 12:30, we're -2 with light flurries over downtown Winnipeg. Good afternoon. I'm Matt Humphrey. We begin with a difficult story. A 33-year-old woman was rushed to hospital in critical condition after she was hit by a semi-trailer truck. It happened just after 7 last night on Henderson Highway near Layton. Police say the woman walked in front of the truck. She suffered serious injuries. The driver stayed on scene. The woman has since been upgraded from critical to serious. And police are asking anyone with any information, including dash cam video, to get in contact with them. A Winnipeg mother is calling on the province to do something about the toxic supply of street drugs continuing to kill people. Yesterday, a report on the Mobile Overdose Prevention Site in Winnipeg, or MOPS, said it exceeded expectations and saved lives. It also says more needs to be done to ensure there's a safe supply of drugs. Arlene Last-Kolb is the chair of Moms Stop the Harm. She lost her 24-year-old son to fentanyl poisoning.
The toxic drugs, not only are they killing our loved ones every day, but the toxicity is causing such great damage to our loved ones that is having a rippling effect on our whole community.
Last-Kolb says it's great news. No one died at the MOPS site during that year of operations, but she points out nearly 450 people did die from toxic drugs in Manitoba last year. 450 people nearly. Last-Kolb says more needs to be done to regulate the supply of street drugs. Overseas, a Polish citizen has been charged in connection to an alleged plot to assassinate Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Polish prosecutors say the suspect was attempting to obtain intelligence about an airport in Poland frequently used by Zelensky. And they allege the man was working for the Russian military. He's facing multiple charges under Poland's national security laws. And the largest water sharing agreements in Alberta's history are now in place. The voluntary agreements will see municipalities, industry, and irrigation districts reduce water use during periods of drought. The municipalities include Calgary, Lethbridge, and Medicine Hat. Alberta Environment Minister Rebecca Schultz says the agreements will be triggered depending on a number of factors.
One of them would be snowpack, one of them would be our reservoir levels, one of them would be river flows. The snowpack is the information that we are still waiting. We'll be gathering that in the next couple of weeks by the end of the month.
Recent snow and precipitation has helped alleviate some concerns, but water is still in high demand in Alberta's south after several dry years. And that's your CBC News from Winnipeg. For news anytime, you can head on over to cbc.ca/Manitoba. I didn't go in the room.
There's no room.
Oh, okay.
All week I have been bugging Matt Humphrey to come in the room and talk with us. But as our friends watching on YouTube, CBC Manitoba's YouTube page, can see, every microphone, I was going to say microwave, is occupied.
That'd
it's
be
a party
so much
in here.
fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
A room full of microwaves.
Well, I'd rather have these people with their microphones. But
that's sweet.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt.
Back soon.
See you later. Riley. Hi. Riley Latruck managed to squeeze his way in to this studio packed with people.
Wow, it's full in here today.
It's lovely having guests in studio.
Yes.
Lots of folks in Thompson. We were talking about just how much snow we got. Our friend Maggie Taylor sent us in a photograph as well. They are digging out.
Yes, they
from
are.
a real whiteout. So much snow they got. But there's another kind of whiteout coming up.
Yes, we have our first Winnipeg Whiteout Street Party happening Sunday, starting at, the gates open at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Winnipeg for Game 1 of the Jets Avalanche Round 1 series. Let's take a look at the forecast for that, because we are looking at a warm weekend. We're turning the page here as we head through the next couple of days. So gates open about 4 o'clock in the afternoon Sunday. We're looking at a sunny 13 degrees, southwest winds at 10. By the time puck drops, yes, around 12, 13 degrees still in the sunshine. So we're looking at a sunny start to that. But as the sun goes down, we are looking at, Janet, some cooler temperatures, mainly clear, and about 8 by the time the game ends. So,
and you mentioned a wind.
Yeah, wind not much of a factor. Southwest at 10, so it's going to be fairly calm. But still, as the sun goes down, it's going to feel a bit cooler. So
bundle up, bring gloves,
take
just
a sweater.
in case.
Take a sweater, just in case.
Well, and maybe a windbreaker. So when everybody sees all the Winnipeg fans cheering, they're going to see them a little bit bundled up.
In the sunshine, too.
In the sunshine, too, which is very nice. So until we get to Sunday, what are we in for?
We have a few scattered flurries still making their way across southern Manitoba through the Riding Mountain region, through the Brandon region. A few flurries even right now along the Trans-Canada corridor, say between Portage and Winnipeg. So expect that to continue as we get through the afternoon hours today. Clearing out very quickly as we head through the overnight hours. So by the time we wake up on Saturday morning, we're looking at a sunny start to the day. Really province-wide, a few clouds here and there, maybe a couple of flurries still lingering through northeastern Manitoba. But by and large, Saturday, Sunday, looking at mainly sunny skies across most of Manitoba. Really, in terms of accumulation, we're looking at what we saw this morning, kind of a trace, a little bit of a dusting as we head through the rest of the day today. But the story for the rest of the afternoon, at least, is really going to be the winds. We're looking at northwest winds, 30 gusting 50 in Winnipeg. A bit stronger on the back side of that Alberta Clipper as it exits into far northern Manitoba. Tomorrow, looking at winds in Churchill, northwest 60 gusting 80 along the Hudson Bay coast. So we're looking at some very windy conditions in northern Manitoba. In the south here, winds do die down as we get through the day on Saturday. Really looking at temperatures right around freezing across much of southern Manitoba and across much of the north as well, where we're expecting some sunshine through the afternoon. 2 degrees is the high in Thompson. We're looking at a high of 9 in Winnipeg tomorrow, 12s and 13s for Sunday, Monday, and up to 15 degrees for Wednesday.
Well, that sounds lovely.
I say back to regularly scheduled spring.
Thank you so much, Riley.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Riley will be back on Up to Speed this afternoon. That's 3 to 6 p.m. here on CBC Radio 1. And he'll also be on CBC News tonight at 6 on the television and on your CBC Manitoba YouTube channel. Hello to everybody watching there. Send our comments if you're watching. If you've got questions about cleaning, you want some tips, you got tips to share, or you got questions about how to tackle stuff that emotionally is difficult. Maybe you need to have a hard conversation with someone you love. We've got all the experts here to help. We're talking spring cleaning, and we're keeping the conversation going from before the news. Getting started can be overwhelming. Maybe you're staring down a tough task. You don't know the right way to tackle it. Maybe it takes too long. What advice do you need to find the most effective and fast way to clean? 204-780-0893. Give us a call, 204-780-0893. We have 2 cleaning experts in studio today to give you tips. Kim Albig, is the owner of K&E Cleaning. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Hi. Give YouTube a wave there, Kim.
Hi, YouTube.
Brittany Brown is with her. She's one of Kim's employees, works with her. Hello, Brittany.
Hello. And hello, everybody.
Give us a call again, 204-780-0893. Janelle Chorney, bless her heart, generously agreed to stay with us to field calls about emotional stuff that might stand in your way. That stuff you can't get rid of, even though it's in the way of traffic, that tough conversation you need to have with someone you love. We are here to help you. Toll free, the number is 1-800-268-5483. Kim, hi.
Hi.
What do you think the ideal spring cleaning checklist is?
Well, that would start from more of a top to bottom clean, a lot of things that we don't get to throughout the year, such as blinds, such as vents, wiping around door frames, just really a lot more of the detailed cleaning that we don't get to, say, on a weekly or a bi-weekly clean.
Brittany, how does a spring cleaning help you polish up your life, other aspects?
Well, I love the word spring clean because it's kind of, blossoms into new growth. So along with some of those heavy duty tasks, I also think another thing is purging some of your items, clothing in particular, especially too with kids, there's a lot of growth. So even getting rid of some of those items and, giving them away will give you also a sense of, feeling good and grateful along with a refreshing sense to your home.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we actually have a caller on the line right now who has a problem, a cleaning problem she needs help with. Brenda, thank you for calling Radio Noon.
Howdy.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Is spring cleaning something you look forward to or dread?
It's funny you put it that way because I was thinking while I was waiting about an old blues lyric that goes, "Get yourself a new broom, sweep the blues away." I kind of find that doing that kind of work lifts your mood when you get in the groove of the hard work. It makes you feel better.
Yeah, that's great, and you feel accomplished.
Yes, yeah, and if you start out feeling kind of down, by the time you're done, you're just too tired to indulge your negative emotions.
Does that make sense, Janelle?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
We've got a therapist here who's nodding, thinks you're just brilliant, Brenda, that idea. Now, Kim was mentioning that spring cleaning should be top to bottom, and you've got a top cleaning issue.
Exactly.
What do you need help with?
I've got stippled ceilings all through my house, and I don't know how to clean them. I've thought about it and looked at it and meditated on it, and I just don't know where to start. Like, do you take a big sponge or do you have to get them steamed? I'm not sure.
We see Kim and Brittany both talking right now. They're nodding. They know what you're faced with. Who wants to go first? Kim.
Hi there, but definitely do not use a sponge. It's going to get wet. It's not going to come clean. So what you would do is you would take your vacuum cleaner and you put the bristle brush on it, and then you can give it a good vacuum. And then that way you're not going to have any of that little stippling falling on the ground, all the cobwebs you'll get off, and it will be a nice dust-free stippled ceiling.
Could you reach with your vacuum, Brenda?
Yeah, actually, I think I can, although I'm kind of sure.
They do attach, or they do, most vacuum cleaners, they do grow where you can pull them and make them longer and stuff, too.
Yeah, it's a question of there's so much sealing. It's just a major undertaking. I've actually painted the whole thing before more than once, but
it is a big job, yes.
And stipple ceilings are kind of one of those things, it's kind of like carpet. A lot of people are shying away from those types of finishes because they are so hard to clean and they do collect a lot. Sometimes too, you might find some discoloring where you can clean that with a microfiber cloth and an all-purpose cleaner or even a magic eraser. However, unfortunately, like when it comes to doing a good thorough cleanup of a stipple ceiling, sealing, it is very, very tricky to really get it to the level that, you want it to be in a new condition. But like Kim was saying, a lot of even upright vacuums, they will have a detachable nozzle that'll be able to reach up to that level. Or like you say, standing on something that is, of course, safe and sturdy to reach that. Another thing, too, that you could do periodically just to maintain it if you don't want to pull out your big vacuum is an extended Swiffer. Those things are also really, really good for high ledges, getting into, crown moldings and things like that, fan blades. But certainly, when you're looking for a really in-depth level of cleaning, a stipple sealing is one of those ones that are definitely going to be more time-consuming and not your black and white cleaning procedure like if it was a flat one.
Well, okay. I appreciate your advice, and I'll see how far I get with it.
Yeah, Brenda, no problem.
Be kind to yourself, Brenda. You don't have to do it all in one day or 1 week. You've got time.
So I have all the time in the world. So.
Yeah. Brenda, thanks so much for calling in on Radio Noon. 204-780-0893. Join Brenda in getting some advice here and join the conversation. If you live outside the city and you don't want to any toll costs, you don't have a free program, it's 1-800-268-5483. We've got some comments that came in from Facebook as well. Mandy wrote, Marcy Marcusa on her Facebook page, bless her, put out a call just asking people about their thoughts of spring. Eddie suggested break it down by priority and take action. If somebody was feeling overwhelmed, Janelle, by the list of stuff they were doing, does that make sense?
Absolutely. Instead of having that huge project or huge, task list, break them down.
Break them down. So where would you begin, Brittany? You're clearly somebody who loves cleaning.
And I also love lists. I have 5 lists in my office as well as in my phone. So I feel like lists in my head, like I'm sure like others, gives me a sense of accomplishment. If I have a list of 5 and 2 are off in my head, that's 40%. Go me. So definitely I would say doing it room by room or level by level. If you're going to get into a kitchen, do the whole kitchen. If you want to deep clean, start from the top. The grease and dust will always fall to the tops of your cupboards. Go inside of them, get them out. And even if you don't finish your whole kitchen, prioritize the tasks in the kitchen. I'm going to get my cupboards done. Let's just save that. Maybe next week we're going to do the fridge. Great. Those are still things that you're going to feel an accomplishment of, and that are tasks that over time will just generally it'll be just easy to maintain, but certainly room by room, I would say is the best way to go about it.
And then do you reward yourself?
Oh, yes.
Always.
Get the Pinot out.
Does that make sense, Janelle?
Yeah, it's the celebrating the small wins. Even if it's a small task, a small thing, give yourself some credit.
Absolutely. Now, do you guys follow influencers on TikTok or
a little bit?
I'm talking to the folks on YouTube too. I mean, there's all these social media things on TikTok, on Instagram too. How to clean. How reliable do you find the advice they give?
I would say very. Like, cleaning isn't rocket science.
Yeah, people overcomplicate a lot of things that are very black and white.
Exactly.
Really.
So, there's a lot of good tips like how to wash your floor, use boiling water, use a Tide pod. They give you a lot of good tips that make it easy.
They also, if they get a number of followers, they get a lot of free stuff, right? And so they're there. Well, I use my favorite thing to use is the blah, blah, blah product.
And, like anything like trend-wise too, you're gonna, there are products though that people prefer in terms of like more natural. Like that, there's preferences with that. But, there's going to always be a new fancy mop or a new cleaning cloth. Like, at the end of the day, cleaning solution, hot water, clean cloths, wash and dry. Go to the dollar store, grab a toothbrush, grab something a little bigger. Of course, there's some heavier duty products like, for hard water, CLR, things like that. But people really overcomplicate things. And, I really, really like what you said. So Sweep Away the Blues, or whoever said that, Brenda.
Yeah, that was Brenda who called in.
I loved that because that's a great way to go about it. Just get it done, but you don't need to overcomplicate anything. Just clean it. If it smells good, if it looks good, if there's no grease and grime, it's clean. It's good to go.
How is Dawn dish soap? Like, do you
Love
have
the best?
Everybody
best.
uses Dawn
The
for
best.
everything.
It is a very low scent. It is safe on every surface. It is gentle. It's safe for pets.
It
As
cuts
you,
the grease.
All the ducks get bathed in it, so your dogs will be fine.
That TV ad of
Was
bathing the greasy ducks. We've got Linda on the line, and Linda's got a really tricky question for us. It's one I can relate to, and there's so many levels on this question. Linda, I'm so grateful that you called to share this with us. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Linda's question. Oh, do you tell us your story? I'm sorry to interrupt. I was going to ask for you.
That's okay. I lost a son, and then my mom died in May. So cleaning out both places.
I'm so sorry you had to do that.
Thank you. It was difficult to decide what to keep because you can't get it back. And so I ended up with a lot of extra things.
Sure.
And I'm gradually going through it, but...
Janelle, this, Linda, we can hear in your voice, it's all so fresh. It's so hard, that job.
It is to decide what to keep, what's really important. Also, you have all the paperwork as well, so just keeping the necessary paperwork for both was a lot. But
my goodness, it's a huge job. If you're the executor, you've got all that stuff to do. It's a huge job. Janelle, first of all, words for Linda.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely very sorry to hear about your loss. That's really tough. I mean, to have two really important people in your life pass, and then having to kind of go through everything, right?
Self-kindness there too, right?
Yeah. It's tough, and I mean, I lost my dad and my grandma back to back, kind of a couple of years ago, and I grabbed a couple things, and there, I was doing some purging, and I took a box down to the thrift store, and then like a couple hours later, I was like, no. I went back. I went back and I grabbed a few things because I was like, I'm just not ready to let go of this stuff, right? So it's okay to keep things. It's okay to, to have boxes of things or memorabilia that reminds us of people who are so important to us, and yeah.
And Linda, you also have to think about when you're ready. Mm-hmm. Does it help to get someone to help you? Like, Janelle, what do you think?
I think they don't have the same meaning. A lot of the things that have meaning to me doesn't to someone else. And some things are simple. My mom painted, and did the embroidery work. So the special pieces I've kept or shared with my other children. But there's just certain things trigger your memories
of course.
You just can't part with. But it has really, we don't have a large house, just my husband and I here now, and we inherited a dog, my son's dog. But we seem to have, I've just found I was getting cleaned up, and now it feels like I've got every kind of corner filled with a couple suitcases or boxes. And the other thing that before any death thing, that I've always found difficult to decide what to do with is cards. I was a great card giver and loved getting cards. And, so many of them too, my husband's sisters are of Britain, and they've one's passed, and two are very elderly and can't write cards anymore.
So you look at them and you think of their beautiful handwriting that they used to have. And look, I remember, I understand that one, Linda, completely, because for years, remember your mom would save everything you made or whatever for school. You just can't keep everything. You can't. But you can keep the memories, can't you? The thoughts of that. What do you think, Janelle?
Yeah, and that's you really brought up a really important thing about, we can't just go in as a friend, as a family member, and say, okay, let's clean up, let's get rid of things. Because
come on, Mom, we gotta go because Mom's not ready.
Yeah, because and different things hold different meanings, right? So we do really have to, keep that in mind and let that person decide, hey, I am ready to let go of this. I'm not quite ready to let go of this.
And you can also give yourself a goal to
Mhm.
once a week throw out one box of stuff so that it's not overwhelming, but you still have a goal, because or else you're just going to be sitting in your place stressed out always about all the amount of stuff you have. But if you start small and just decide, okay, you know what, I don't need 17 pots and pans. Which 3 can I throw away? Start like that and start by giving yourself just grace and a goal, a small goal to achieve.
And that for the cards as well, you know, one from each person perhaps, and then
Great idea.
maybe
anniversary or birthday of something like 50th or whatever it may be.
you could even make a collage for your wall.
And another thing I've seen people do, like especially for things like that, maybe not something like a larger item, is take pictures of things and make them into photo albums so that they're able to at least see some of the things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Another thing too, like when you were mentioning, not ready to part with things too, even if you can find a designated spot or organize things in a way that it feels like they're in better places, and when you're ready to start, letting go of them, at least you'll know where everyone's stuff is at least.
And there is also people out there that will make a blanket out of the clothes that,
Like
maybe your
repurpose
son
things.
had, and, just a little piece of each shirt and stuff. And that way you'll still always have it, but you don't have a closet full of clothes.
That's a great idea.
I like that one too.
Absolutely. And it's also nice thinking, you were mentioning earlier about decluttering, even just giving stuff away and knowing that it's helping somebody else.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's a great idea. What about walls? We talked about cleaning ceilings. We talked about carpets. How do you clean walls?
Walls make the best difference in the world. They are so refreshing and they are so easy to clean. So there's an amazing product called TSP. Yeah, you can get it at any Canadian Tire, typically Home Depots, things like that. They come in a liquid and a powder. So we usually would use the powder ones. But what you would do is simply put it in a bucket of water. Typically, a scoop, whatever it may be, it says on the package. But we would, if it does require a full wall wash, use an actual mop pad and mop the walls. The TSP is amazing if you have a home that has been smoked in as well. The product can be used on all surfaces. So your cabinets, things like that. Another thing too, for really tough spots, magic erasers are great. There's one thing to be very mindful of. There's some paints out there that are not as high quality as others. So if you start to use a product and you start seeing things rubbing off, you stop. But generally, when we do wall washing, TSP, and sometimes you don't even require that much.
And a Bona mop. Use a Bona mop,
like a
not one of
microfiber
those
flat
spin
mop.
mops. Just use a flat microfiber Bona mop.
And you change, you do it just like, and you can do the ceiling this way too if it's a flat one, but just like a floor. You mop it one side to the other, wring out your mop pad, clean your water, or change your water, But yeah, you can do that. Wall washing's great. And again, you'd want to do that typically annually. So if you have kids, maybe a little more. Take down stuff off your walls. Give that a clean too. And then you're putting clean stuff on clean walls. So, and that kind of like rolls into a ripple effect because you're going to hit the walls, then you're going to see your baseboards, then you're going to see your pocket doors, and it just becomes a whole party.
I love Brittany's enthusiasm. I'm one of the people. The reason, if you noticed a negative tone about like, what if you're dreading it? It's because I dread it.
I can make it fun.
Brittany can make it fun.
She makes everything fun.
Okay, what haven't we asked you yet? We only have a couple of minutes left. Other tips?
Oh, let me think here. Take your bath mats, okay, and entries. If you're at home, one big thing, especially right now with all the dirt outside, and now we got winter again. Lift your mats. You can take them outside.
Shake them
out. Give them a vacuum. Roll them. You're gonna notice that the floors underneath is gonna have a nice crust of built up dirt. So a nice wash of that's always good. Another thing too. Now is spring. We're
just running out of time.
And
I love
can
it.
you come over to my house after this?
Absolutely. Honestly, you guys can just call me, find me. I'll tell you
Just
all the
hire us.
things.
Perfect.
Okay, Kim Albig is the owner of K&E. Brittany Brown is the company's office manager. And Brittany, your enthusiasm.
I'm so glad I got to meet you
Oh.
and you as well. But I had a great time. Thank you so much for
Oh,
having us.
thank you, Brittany. Thanks, Kim, so much. You guys are wonderful. Great tips for Linda, too. Janelle Chorney, thank you so much. Janelle runs Deep Roots Counseling and Wellness. Thank you all for being here. Thank you. Faith Fundal has joined us in our studio of fun. It's a studio of fun today.
I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, seriously. This place has been packed, and it has
Just makes
been
me think, can
fun.
I invite someone to help me clean my house?
Yes, Brittany, she's right there.
I think you and I'd have a good time.
We're going to clean up today on the show, Janet, because we're going to talk about sports.
Oh,
Lots
excellent.
and lots of sports, which I don't usually do. But we're going to hear from someone who is the newly signed point guard for the Sea Bears, who is pumped to be back in Winnipeg after a basketball career taking him all around the world. He is homegrown, and he is back home.
That's exciting.
It's going to be a fun conversation.
The Sea Bears is growing to be such a popular team.
Lots of folks very excited about it, so yeah, stay tuned. Oh, and we'll also talk about hockey and all the other things.
All that, the whiteout stuff and all the stuff. Thank you so much. Faith Fundal, Up to Speed, starts at 3 p.m., 3 to 6 here on Radio 1 and on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who helped put this show together this week. Thank you so much, Wendy Parker and Dylan Longhurst in the control room. Thank you, Travis Peterson, also in the control room. Nellie Gonzalez, Leif Larson, thanks for all your work. Thank you to all who called in and trusted us to help. That's so fantastic. Nellie Gonzalez, Leif Larson, I mentioned them already. You're listening to CBC Radio 1. CBC's podcast showcase is up next. Hope you have an absolutely fantastic weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Take good care.